All right, hello everyone. Welcome to the what are we calling this now, Matt?
Are we calling this first annual? Are we doing this?
No, it wouldn't be first annual because that we would never do this again.
First weekly, sorry.
The first weekly Towson Pregame Show.
Oh.
I guess that's
got
what
a
we'll
ring
call
to
it. I guess so.
Towson Pregame Show.
Towson Pregaming. Hey, just kidding. You can't tailgate anymore.
Too soon. Too soon.
But you can. I lied.
Yeah.
Okay. Jokes aside, we used to do the Tower Light Sports podcast, but we felt like you weren't coming to the Tower Light for national sports. And if you were, maybe consider your life choices. But we're going to do what we're best at. And what we're best at is Towson sports. So Matt and I are here to pregame every Towson football game for the rest of the year.
We're going to pregame together. This is cool.
Yes.
I've never pregamed before. This is going to be fun.
I'm not drunk, I promise.
Oh, Jesus. Here we
go. This weekend, Matt, we are playing Maine, we being Towson. And I can say we and not be awkward about it because I go to Towson. So.
Me as well. Even though I am the football reporter, I will be using we. So
it's just easier that way.
If you're a fan of objectivity, get over it.
Maybe it's not the best place to go.
Go Browns. I don't know.
Go Browns.
Yeah, go Browns. I thought this was a Towson-centric pregame show. Terrence.
You can't escape
You can't just use Terrence for everything. I mean, might as well just jump right into it.
Yeah, so it's the first CAA matchup.
Yeah, first CAA matchup against the Maine team that we haven't played all 4 years that I've been here, but we play them every so often. And they're a team that are usually competitive in the CAA. They usually make their living off of defense. They have, well, until last week, Boston College ran for 413 yards in a game last week against Maine. But before that, they had one of the best rush defenses in the FCS.
But to be fair, that Boston College game was like our game against West Virginia.
Yeah, so you kind of throw that one away. It was 40-10, but I mean they're 1-2. So you could kind of say that they're struggling as well. They lost 13-10 to Bryant, which isn't really a good result for Maine, but they're known for that team that plays defense. They're not necessarily known for high-powered offense, as evidenced by the 30 points that they've scored in 3 games. So, I mean, it's looking like it's going to be somewhat of a defensive battle. Maybe the key, I mean, we'll get to it, but maybe the key will be how Towson's offense fares in this defensive battle against Maine's defense is always going to be strong. Ours has been strong at times. Definitely rush defense is strong. Our secondary hasn't been as good as many thought they would be, especially
Sans Ty Smith.
Well, yeah, Sans Ty Smith, but like Christian Carpenter's back there, and they have Alfonso Augustine. They have a couple veterans, guys that have played before, and you would think that they will be stepping up, and I think that they could by the end of the season, but I don't think they've done the best that they can do. So it'll be interesting to see what happens in this game for both offenses, but that's my preview. I think it'll be a pretty defensive-oriented game.
Well, the thing that I think that sticks out to me is how Towson's going to control the clock and how they're going to control the ball. Darius Victor right now is 12th in the FCS in rushing, and Maine doesn't have a single player inside the top 50. Mm-hmm. So that's I thought that was kind of interesting. Also, Derek Joseph is 18th in the FCS among players with at least 6 kick returns and average yardage per kick return, however you want to say that.
Yardage per return.
Yeah.
There you go.
Anyways, Derek Joseph is good. So
yeah,
that's basically what that's saying. And if Derek Joseph can make some plays in the special teams, give Towson an advantage in field position, I think that the Tigers can use Darius Victor to control the clock and to control their drives. And against Central Connecticut State, I didn't really look at the West Virginia game when I was kind of predicting this Maine game because I think it's just kind of a separate thing that you kind of have to put aside.
I was there. It is definitely not something you want to look at as indicative of anything because it was just West Virginia scores. But let's not look at the past here. But you can't really take much from that game at all.
Yeah, and against Central Connecticut State, Towson's first 7 drives against them, they were punts. I'm sorry, the 7 of Towson's first 8 drives were punts. Mm. And that's just not what you need. That means that you're not picking up first downs when you need them. That means you're not they were all punts, so it's not like they were turning the ball over. They just weren't picking up the first downs that they needed. They didn't even attempt a field goal and missed it. They just weren't getting to the other side of the field. But against North Carolina Central, which is last weekend's game, Towson won, The first 6 drives they had a touchdown, a punt, a field goal, an interception, and then 2 touchdowns. Mm-hmm. So the interception not that great, but it was Connor's only interception of the game.
Yeah.
So not that big of a deal, but at least they were making something happen. They were at least getting down to the other end of the field, and they were at least threatening to score. They had that field goal mixed in there. So I think that field position is going to be a big thing, and then making drives last, picking up key third downs. Something I think that is Towson's biggest weakness right now is getting them into third and long. Yeah. Obviously, any football team on the face of the planet is going to have a hard time on third and long because it's one of the hardest plays to convert in all of football. But Connor Frazier's strength is not to throw the ball 12 yards down the field. His strength is to throw it for 6 yards and get a possession and hope that a receiver can pick up those ever-famous yak yards after catch yards.
Yeah.
Connor's strength is not to throw on 3rd and 10.
Yeah, and I don't think that's the way the offense is designed anyway. I mean, they struggled on 3rd down against NC Central. I don't know the stat, but it was a pretty bad 3rd down conversion rate, which is something that Rob knows that he needs to work on, and something that I think will have to improve if they want to be successful. As for Connor, I think if you can tell anything from these games that he's played, you can't take much from Delaware State. I was talking to Rob about this, actually. I asked him at practice on Tuesday. I said, like, how do you see him developing as a quarterback and everything? And he was saying, well, I'll give him a pass on the first game. Like we said, it wasn't his best first game. He struggled most of the night. West Virginia was it was a mess for everyone. And then the Delaware State game, it was raining. So tough to really measure what Connor's been doing and growing and all that. But this game, he was 15 for 22, 161 yards and a touchdown with that interception. But at least you see that conversion rate going up. You're getting more yards. He found Spencer Wilkins for 100 yards. So, I mean, it's something that from that game you can at least tell that he's doing something a little better than he was before. When we talked to Rob on Tuesday, I was talking to him kind of about Connor and Spencer developing the chemistry and how they're doing. And he said, yeah, they're developing something, but in essence, Connor's developing that with everyone. He's just getting better. So Rob's kind of seeing what we might be seeing, especially from that North Carolina Central game, that he's at least getting more comfortable playing quarterback. Because after all, this is his first 4 starts as a quarterback. So he took a little time, but it looks like he could be progressing. We'll see in this Maine game, but obviously, like I said, it was kind of like that Eastern Washington game. He moved the ball down the field really quickly in that game, and it was by those 4-yard, 5-yard passes instead of the 10 or 12 like you were saying. So if he can get the offense to that point where he can complete these short passes and we can move the ball down the field, it could be just another element to add to Darius that could help us going forward. So that, at least Rob's noticing that Connor's getting more comfortable.
But I think we can both agree that Darius Victor basically is our offense right now.
At this point, yeah. I mean, I will say we passed relatively well in the NC Central game. I mean, Spencer Wilkins had 100 yards, but without Darius Victor, we probably wouldn't have won that game. So he's carrying the load right now, but against a Maine team that stops the run pretty well, it's going to be tough to rely on him. So
I think this could potentially be a very low-scoring game.
Yeah. And our offense, at the start of the NC Central game, I didn't think we were really capable of getting 30, and we ended up with 31. So I could only see maybe 20s, I would say, is the highest that this could get. But, I mean, I could be wrong. But, I mean, it's 2 defenses that are pretty strong against 2 offenses that aren't completely established yet.
I think the pass defense, though, for Towson might be a little bit weaker than you're giving them credit for.
Yeah, and I kind of mentioned, like, they were underachieving.
They're struggling,
but yeah,
right.
Do you have any, like, stats for that? Or
Unfortunately, I did not. I did not take that down. But just doing the eye test, I did watch the Central Connecticut State game on live stream, and then I watched the North Carolina Central game in person. I was in the stands for that. Yep. And just from looking at that and just reading other stories about the team, I just think that could be a weakness potentially. I should have taken stats down about this, but YOLO, I guess.
They've allowed 250 yards passing per game, and they've allowed 5 touchdowns through the air. So That's like I said, West Virginia game. It's tough to really that'll skew the numbers a little bit.
Yeah, because Clint Trickett had like 400 yards or something like that.
What a quarterback name.
That is an amazing name.
Can we sit here and recognize that Clint Trickett is one of the best quarterback names in
Yeah.
all of college football? But anyways, he tore us up, so I don't want to think about him anymore. But
and Central Connecticut State's quarterback is ranked in the top 15 in total passing right now. I looked at that too, so he's no pushover either.
No, and we've played some good pass offenses, but it's still something that into the season we thought was going to be a strong thing. I mean, they have veterans back there. Christian Carpenter did have a pick in the NC Central game, but it was late, and it did help us, but it hasn't been that easy. I mean, they had a 50-yard touchdown in the NC Central game that the guy was just wide open, and it was easy for him. So it's definitely something that they need to work on, and I'm sure Rob knows that they need to work on that. But you would think with veterans they could be able to turn it around, but you're right. I mean, they're not. They haven't shown their best so far in 4 games.
Now, see, the downside of me talking crap about football players is that I'm on this campus and they know where I am. So I guess I probably shouldn't be too harsh because
Ty Smith's going to come after you.
I love Ty Smith.
He's a nice guy. I mean,
I've never met him before, but he's a good football player.
Yeah. And Christian Carpenter,
Yeah,
great.
But you never know.
I mean, they're all great.
Yeah.
If I say they're not great, then
they will find me and they will sack me. They'll sack me in class.
Sacked? No.
Oh man, that would be painful.
Yeah, John DeSee or Ryan DeLay are coming after you in the class.
That's not something that I would need.
Oh,
running down Van Bachlen or in the College of Liberal Arts trying to navigate the hallways as you're trying to escape like certain death. That would be.
There's some football players that are communications majors.
Yeah, that's true.
They're gonna come after you, Munch. you be careful when you criticize their secondary, okay?
So the other thing I will say about this game is, I mean, obviously for any football game, it's about the turnovers. But Towson right now is +2 in the turnover category. Connor's great at not making bad decisions. He's not going to be a quarterback who turns the ball over a lot. And Maine right now is dead even on in the turnover margin. So Towson has a favor in that right now. As you said, Matt, the run defense is strong. Definitely think that they're a group of guys who can force fumbles. But I also feel like Maine is also a conservative offense.
Yeah.
They're not gonna actively, it's not gonna be like in the pros, you're not gonna get somebody like Nick Foles who's just gonna be throwing the ball like 60, or Kirk Cousins is a better example. You're not gonna be playing Kirk Cousins who's gonna throw the ball 60 times a game is gonna have 3 interceptions and 5 touchdowns or something like that. That's not gonna be the style of game that this is gonna be.
This is not a Jimmy Garoppolo Eastern Illinois game, even though that was in the snow. But their quarterback has thrown for 356 yards in 3 games and has completed only 48.1% of his passes. That's not good.
Yeah,
that's not very good.
Yeah, Connor's completion percentage, I think I have something on this and now I lost it.
It's higher than that.
It is higher than that.
That's the thing. Like Connor, so far this season hasn't really made those risky passes that could often result in mistakes. And that's just not really how the offense is designed. I mean, if he's throwing a deep pass, it's usually towards the sideline. So if he does throw it, past a guy, which he has, it goes out of bounds. So he's not taking the biggest risks when he throws the ball. This guy, 48.1, that's not very good for a completion percentage. So I haven't watched Maine, so I don't know how their offense works, but it's not good for you to complete only 48.1% of your passes. In case you aren't a football fan.
Yeah, and I think this is actually like a legitimate point to bring up about tailgating, even though I joked about it to start with.
Let's bring it in. It's a hot topic. Why not?
Hot takes. I think attendance is going to be a big thing here, because I think that Towson does have, when students show up in the first half and don't leave at halftime, Towson has a pretty significant home field advantage, wouldn't you say?
I'm not going to lie, Towson, I'm a little critical of you. Could you just stay? Could you stay till after the third quarter? These games have been close games, and you just left at halftime. Your parties will start. You could be the life of the party. You could come later. Just watch the football game until at least the third quarter or something.
But I do think there's a legitimate point to be brought up, not just for this main game, but for the future home games, that if tailgating restrictions do become more serious or people decide to boycott or they don't want to go through the policies now or whatever, if less people show up, it could potentially mean that more people stay at home, stay in the apartment complexes, stay off campus, and don't come to the game. And I think that when people show up and they want to be at a Towson game and they want to stay, Towson has a great home field advantage. I can significantly think back to my freshman year.
Lehigh. That was the big game. But yeah, keep going.
I was thinking about the Villanova game when they upset Villanova.
And we rushed the field and everything.
There were people stayed for the entire game.
Yeah.
Granted, that was 4 years ago, and I'm an old man now. But
we're old.
I know it's
so
depressing. But I can think back to that, and I remember how many people stayed on the student field side or student section side. Sorry. And I'm just concerned. I'm not commenting on the tailgating policies one way or the other because I want to try to stay a neutral party and all that. So I'm not going to comment on the policies themselves. But if the policies become stricter, I am concerned that less fans will show up.
Yeah, and I'm not going to comment too much, but at least I'm not covering the story that much.
We can at least say that Rob Ambrose has tweeted multiple times and strong support of tailgating. And he said this morning that he was going to go into the tailgating and talk to students and high-five them. That was his tweet this morning.
I'll find you in there, Rob. But my thing with the tailgating, I'll at least put it this way. I went to West Virginia. Yeah, I had all that coverage of West Virginia about their tailgate. And everyone says West Virginia goes crazy. But I think there's a little distinction between West Virginia and Towson. I've been thinking about this before. West Virginia tailgate was more about the football. No one was going too crazy. I mean, there were people that were going crazy. I mean, you're going to have 60,000.
There's always going to be.
Yeah. But I would say the vast majority, I mean, they were drinking, they were doing all that. But they wanted to make sure they got to the game because it was all about the football game. This was the precursor to the football game. Sometimes I think at Towson, the real party is the tailgate. And some people go for the tailgate and not necessarily the football game. And I think that might just be something that if we were more, into our football team, that maybe the tailgating wouldn't be as big of a deal, and maybe we would have more school spirit after that. But, I mean, that's as much as I can go into it. But I just saw a little difference between the way West Virginia did their tailgate and how we have done our tailgates over the years.
I think the same thing. I have a bunch of friends who go to Virginia Tech, and I try to go to one game a year. Last year I just went to a Ball State game, so it's like, or was it Ball State or Bowling Green? One of the two. I think it was Bowling Green. It was Bowling Green. They're the Eagles, right?
Yes, they're the Eagles.
So it was Bowling Green. And I went to that tailgate and went to the game beforehand, and like you said, Matt, it was about the football. Even though it was basically an insignificant opponent, I think Virginia Tech won by like 30 points that game.
Yep.
It was about the football. It was a sold-out crowd. And granted, Towson isn't known as being a football school. It's in the FCS. It's not even in the FBS.
Yep.
But at the same time, if we're talking about the comparison of home field advantages and things like that, just something I think that is worth bringing up.
Just to add a little bit, I'm not going to go too far into it, but it felt like an NFL field. Because when you go, if you've ever been to an NFL game and you go to tailgate, you tailgate for a little bit, but you go to that game so you can scream and cheer your lungs off.
Because you paid $800 for the ticket.
Yeah, which
or whatever.
People don't really. I mean, we do pay for our athletics fees, so I guess so that's something. But I mean, I think the big schools have it right in that they tailgate for the football game, and I think if we want to get there, we might have to shift a little bit of our mentality. But I guess it's as far as I can go into hot button issue. I don't know.
No, I do think it's worth, we're not just going off on a tangent for the sake of going off on a tangent. I think it's worth bringing up. So, Matt, I have to go to another meeting about tailgating. Speaking of tailgating.
Do you want to predict the score?
I will. I'm not going to ask you to.
Yeah, I'm not. I don't think I should go that far.
But my official prediction for this game is I think Towson is going to win. I think the score will be 17-13. I think it'll be a low-scoring game. I think it'll be a game where Towson tries to control the clock a lot, whether it be with short dump-offs from Connors, screen passes, things like that, or it is Darius running the ball. I think they're going to try to control the clock as they have, as they did against Central Connecticut State, obviously. I'm sorry, not Central Connecticut, North Carolina Central.
Yeah, a lot of Centrals.
A lot of Centrals throw me off. As they did against North Carolina Central, they tried to control the clock a lot. They basically had the ball for the majority of the game. I don't have the time of possession numbers in front of me, but that's certainly what it seemed like. And I think that's what this game will be like. So I'm going to predict 17-14.
Okay, and I'll just keys to the matchup. I think Connor Frazier's really big, and I think his development will at least show a little bit in this game. Has he made it completely to the point where he's going to be comfortable passing? I don't know. This might be telling of that. So can't really give you a score, but I think something to look for is our pass game. I think that could be key in this matchup.
All right, well, we appreciate everyone for watching. This video will be up on Friday, and then hopefully I'll be able to take it and turn it into an audio thing. Maybe we'll have some quotes from people. In the future, we're going to try to do some interviews with some other writers and incorporate that into the audio. So a lot of cool things coming. But at least for this episode, we appreciate everyone who listened. Hopefully you go and enjoy the game regardless of the tailgating policies. Hopefully we can have a big crowd there. Of course, I say that and I won't even be there, but who knows?
Well, I'll be there. I just won't be part of the crowd, so whatever.
So we appreciate everyone watching. Hopefully we'll have some even better watching and listening. Hopefully we'll have some cool stuff for you in the games to come. But for now, enjoy the game.